Should I ignore him? Hello, my name is Chengi and you, my precious one, are my world. If you're new to my channel, welcome, welcome, welcome. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share and comment, because right here is where I teach you how to be a high value, high status, high worth woman that men find completely irresistible. Okay, should I ignore him? Number one, we have to be looking at the stages of the relationship that you are at. Where are you in the dating and relationship spectrum? If you've met this guy, before I even go into the stages, let's go back, rewind a little bit to ignoring and the power of it. And now some of you have seen my other video, why he comes back when you ignore him, and I've already stated that there's something about the mystery of being ignored and something in our nature that cannot not have answers. Okay, so when you ignore somebody, by and large, it is probably the lowest form of treating another human being. It's mean because we've been at the other end of being ignored and we know exactly how that feels. It's almost like saying you do not matter, you do not count, your heart and your feelings do not matter. So when you are thinking of ignoring somebody, it is really a mean thing to do. Okay, and therefore, but it is also sadly very effective. I look at it as a bit of the sword. The sword is not really to be used unless it is in self-defense. Can I get an amen? Okay. And yes, love and war tend to go side by side. Sometimes we meet people that don't know how to honor us and respect us, and therefore we have to protect ourselves, and we would rather keep our swords in our sheath. But because somebody starts to not play fair, we now have to bring out the big guns. Okay, so ignoring is not something that I recommend doing, because I always recommend having a conversation first. But there are some instances where ignoring him really helps. Okay, so let's get into the stages of the relationship. If it's somebody that you have met and he is pulling away, you can feel the games starting to play, you can feel the energetically that he's not invested. Sometimes he calls it inconsistent, he's breaking communication patterns, everything is not quite as it should be. The bottom line is, at that point, you just need to ignore his behind. You need to ignore him, okay, completely. Just do not respond, do not answer back, because the truth is, if he can answer your text 3-4 days later, why should you even answer them at all? Because the thing in this situation is, you sometimes need to mirror that person's emotional giving to you. Now what that's going to do, if you're dealing with a high value guy, he's not going to play stupid games. So you're already dealing with somebody who is either low value, insecure, a little bit feminine, wants you to do the chasing. You're not really about that life. So absolutely ignore him. I say ignore him forever. Now, he may have been maybe 50-50. His interest in you may have been under 50%. But as you ignore him, and maybe because he had other options at the same time and you just weren't top of the list on those options, as you ignore him, your status in those options gets higher. And of course, if you want to know what happens when the vanisher returns, there's always a video for you on this channel. Is called When the Vanisher Returns. But basically, he may come back and behave, but by and large, it's never a good idea. Listen, if somebody is playing games, pulling in, pulling out, being unattentive, a high value, high worth, high status woman simply just doesn't have time for that. And really, it's a turn off. Certainly for me, the moment you seem to be in and out, bit of a turn off. I'm really not interested. I lose attraction, and I have trained myself to be that way. Okay, so let's say you've been seeing each other for a while and you start to feel that he started with the games. I've got a video on this channel called When They Start to Play Games. But at this point, it's a good time to ignore him. It's a good idea to ignore the things that make you unhappy. But again, only when you have stated that this thing is disappointing to you, that you show him that his behavior and the games he's starting to play, they're a little bit disappointing because you didn't have him pegged as that guy. A man needs to know that a high value woman gets disappointed, even irritated, when he doesn't show up as a high value man that he should be. So watch that video when he plays games. But at this point, when you've been dating for a little bit and you start to see him do, it's fair enough for you to shut down your energy and to move away. Now, ignoring is not just the not responding and responding. Sometimes ignoring is in fact just shutting down your energy, right? And just not responding to certain behavior and not feeding that behavior negatively or positively. Just that neutral energy of, I'm not having this. When you've been in a long-term relationship, you're married, you've been together for a long time, ignoring is not a good idea. Ignoring will only create a vacuum that will create things and dirt and mess in that relationship. Communication matters a lot. So if he's done something that you feel you just don't ever want to speak to him again, then that is a problem. You need to have the help, ask for help. Ignoring each other when you're in a long-term, meaningful marriage situation or relationship is a bad idea. Okay, so what we want to do is use the tool, the weapon of ignoring in the early stages, where we want to show this person that we will not tolerate and we will not negotiate with terrorists. Emotional terrorists, of course. We don't want a man to believe that he can get away with anything. So yes, ignore him. Ignore him if he's been disrespectful, blatantly disrespectful. Ignore him when you are sure that you just don't need him in your life anymore. What will be happening in his head is he will begin to wonder what is going on. He will begin to elevate his attraction. But like I said, if you are dealing with a high value man and you start to ignore him, you may very well lose him. But if he is high value, he would never give you a reason to ignore him. So that's for today. I hope that answers your question. In the meantime, take care of you. I'll see you in my next video. Love you lots. Bye bye now.